All right, so hello everybody, and welcome to this impromptu session today. I got a lot of people from yesterday's session asking me to do some more on rock piano improvisation, so we're going to do that today. Before I do that, remember the Black Friday, Cyber Monday specials are all going on right now. You can find them at studywithwilly.com. Some key points, the membership special, all of those prices stick. So the quarterly recurring membership for $99, that's every 3 months, that price sticks. So if you sign up for that, as long as you remain a quarterly member, you get that price every single quarter. In addition to that, all of the memberships come with one-to-one coaching with me, and if you're interested in getting access to all of my sites, then the premier level membership is definitely what you want to take a look at. So there's many different membership options. We're also doing 51% off of downloads right now, and you could find that at studywithwilly.com as well. The recording for today's session will likely not go out today. It will likely go out on Monday once Carrie is back in the office. But if for some reason I'm able to get it together, then it might go out tomorrow. But look for that on Monday. But I am recording this session today. All right, so now how this is going is I'm going to basically be answering your rock piano questions, okay? I don't have any particular sheet music for today's lesson, so just go ahead and chat in your question now. I will be checking my screen over here to see the questions and comments and whatnot. Do me a favor, try and mark it as a question as well. All right. Let's see. Buono, all right. 52%. I'll tell you what, write into us. We'll give you the extra 1% there, Buono. So hello, everybody, and let's see. So any questions you have, write in. Otherwise, this will be a short session. So my son and I, we were just at a karate competition this morning, and he and I both competed in forms and sparring and all of that. So it's already been a long day for us. We're kind of tired from that. But I am here spending my afternoon with all of you because I want you to learn about rock piano skills and rock piano improvisation. Now, one thing that's really important about rock piano is really knowing your chords inside and out, okay? So when I'm saying, like, when I'm just going to, like, come up with a progression, like, if I'm going to keep, even if I did Fire and Rain. Okay? And the reason that you want to know your chords really well is you want to keep that melody note on top, if you can, when you're playing the melody, obviously. And so now what I'm doing is I'm voicing my chord, which is just a fancy way of saying that I'm arranging the notes of that chord. And now notice what I'm doing. When I go from the C chord, that melody note is on top, that E. When I go to the G minor, I have the melody note of F on top. When I go to the F chord, I have the melody note of A on top. And when I go back to the C chord, I have that melody note of G on top. Now, if I only know my chords in root positions, it's going to be very difficult for me to be able to put that melody note on top. Now, that's also a concept that used to confuse me when I was first getting started is, okay, so how do I play the melody with the chord underneath it with something else in the left hand? So let me break down for you basically what happens for rock piano, solo rock piano, okay? So if I'm going to do like Piano Man. All right, so Piano Man there. So now what I'm doing, I actually kind of went a little bluesy there. What I'm doing is I'm voicing the chord so that the chord is underneath the melody. So it starts with melody on top, and then still with the right hand, the rest of the notes of the chord. And then now with the left hand, now I bring in maybe roots or root and fifth, or maybe even root 10th. If I can reach that, or some kind of bass pattern, all right, but definitely roots, right? So moving back to Fire and Rain, it's a little bit easier of an example. All So notice, so now that's just with the right hand. So that's just the right hand. So notice I'm playing that melody with my pinky, fourth finger there in the right hand, okay? Voicing down the notes of the chord, and then when I add in the left hand, just roots or roots and fifths. So it goes to G minor. Now notice the other thing that I'm doing here is the rhythm. So melody note, melody, rest of the chord, then left hand octaves. And then with all of that, I'm also kind of like putting in some rhythms there to make it a little bit more exciting. Notice what I'm doing with my thumb there, okay? A lot of that thumb motion, right? So a lot of stuff going on with the thumb. Right? So that thumb motion in the left hand provides a lot of, basically what's happening is I have the root down here and I have the melody and the chord up here, and then that thumb right up in here kind of gives like a little bit of rhythmic push, right? Kind of like, because if I don't do that, then I get this. Which isn't bad, but that thumb adds a little bit of rhythmic excitement in the left hand. So try doing that. There's no specific rhythm that you have to play with the thumb. Just try and activate that thumb in the left hand a little bit more. All right, so Ellen had a question here, I think. Well, first of all, Victoria had a question. What are signature rock progressions voicings that must be in every rock bag of tricks? All right, well, first of all, like I said, you have to know all of your triads, and I mean know all of your triads. You should also know your triads with like your nines in there, and then like kind of like know some of these double stoppy kind of things. Voicing wise, that's pretty much it in terms of chords, you know, like there's not a lot of there's not really a lot of like it's not like you really have to know like big jazzy voicings and like upper structure triads and stuff like that. With rock stuff, usually you want to keep it a little bit more simple, so triadic based, and then maybe adding in the seconds. The chords in the piano essentials, the sus2 chord, like. And also the chord essentials, some of those progressions in there as well are really good for rock. Now, in terms of rock progressions, it's really rock tunes. Like go through, and it depends on what rock songs you want to work on. Like for instance, like a Coldplay thing. Like that's it, pretty much for that tune. Okay, I think it goes in one other section, but that's the basic tune. What was I just doing? Adele's Hello. That's it. F minor to A flat, E flat, D flat, and then after it goes. Then it goes F minor to D flat, A flat, E flat. So that's it. That's the tune. And triads, absolutely fine, okay? I really don't have to play more than that. So And this is a question I've gotten many times before from students, like, what progressions do I have to know? What voicings do I have to know? What rhythms do I have to know? And I'm going to tell you that it's less about that. It's much less about that. And it's much more about the feeling and how you, play, the chord, the progression. Okay, so in other words, like let's take Adele's "Hello" again. So if I do, it's kind of flat and boring, right? But now if I start to do, now it starts to take on this whole new shape to it, because now I'm bringing in dynamics for one. I started to get a little bit more rhythmic with it. Definitely my articulation, okay? Like how it wasn't just like really flat, like some notes I really kind of like are a little bit more angular than others. And then from there, then you could start to, like, if you really want to take it and then start to move it into like more of like a jazz realm. Not to say that you have to, because I know a lot of students, man, they hate it. Like if I were to do like jazz on a rock tune, and I get it. If you like that certain rock sound, don't mess with a good thing. But if you're looking to do that, then you go. Now there I'm starting to add in some more ninths. I'm starting to like bring in some improvisation, a little bit of pentatonic kind of sounds in there as well. Okay, and you notice that rhythmically it's a little bit more intense rhythmically as well. Okay. All right, so Ellen, what are some ways to change the left-hand pattern for the bridge? I assume you're talking maybe for that Adele's "Hello" again. And I was kind of doing that right there. One thing that I like to do is I also like to do pedal tones. So. So there, what I'm starting to do is I'm starting to pedal, like I was pedaling the F, and I tried pedaling the A flat, didn't really like that. But then I started to move into alternate bass notes as well. So like you could do F minor, and a D flat with F in the bass, A flat, E flat over G. So then, that kind of gives you this whole nother flavor. So like using kind of the slash chords and in the alternate bass notes. Take a look on Piano and Willie's site for slash chords. Just do a search for slash. Right, S-L-A-S-H, and then it should come up with some lessons on slash chords. But you can also something simple like that can provide a lot of motion, and all I'm doing is root 5 root, root 5 root, root 5 root, root 5 root, root 5 root. So something like that, just, if you were playing roots before, just adding in the fifth in there and doing 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2, you start to get this rhythmic thing going, and in the left hand really isn't that complicated. It's just root 5 roots. Okay, so always look for that simplest path. I have a tendency to overcomplicate. I mean, I know I do that. That's why I'm not a rock musician. Like I don't go out and just do like honestly, myself personally, this is my own personal thing, not to say that it should be for you, but I would just get bored doing that after a while. I'd constantly want to change it and do something different with it, okay? And that's not that it's right or wrong, it's just that would be my jam, all right? That's how I would roll with that. So for me, I tend to overcomplicate because I'm always trying to add in certain stuff and see where I can go with stuff, okay? So don't do that if you're trying to stay within a rock vein. Instead, think, okay, what's the simplest way that I can change this? And it could be, something like that. Just the thumb. Because it could just be simply like, just ba, like doing the thumb thing there, and then that's it. So it could be just even a rhythmic change rather than even a note change. Do you have any rule of thumb? Funny, I like that. Any rule of thumb about how much of the vocal line I should harmonize versus play single note? Too little harmonization sounds too spare, but if you were to play the chord on every note, it ends up being very clunky. Yes. Now, yeah, all right. So now, rule of thumb for that. Okay, I can give you some rules of thumb for that. So basically, if you're playing the song, you're playing the song instrumental, right? And then I don't know if I know the melody. So it's something like that. So let's just take that. It's close enough for right now. So you see, there, okay? I'm not going to harmonize every one of those notes because those notes are moving kind of quickly and it's going to sound clunky. It's going to sound a little weird. So anytime you have these notes that are moving quickly, that's probably a good place for single note line. The other thing is every time you come to a new chord change, yeah, you should be hitting that chord there. So if you do, see how I missed that A flat chord altogether, and then it kind of changes. So make sure when you hit a new chord change, you're hitting that chord. Okay? Or again, Fire and Rain. See right there? Single note line in there, and you heard many other places there where I was playing single note lines as well. But every new chord change, I have to make sure that I hit that chord, otherwise I'm going to miss out on the progression. Leonard, hello Leonard from Brazil. How are you? When playing in this style of music, how important is it to keep the melody on top? Well, it depends if you're playing the melody or not. If you're accompanying a singer, so this is where you get to hear me sing. Woke up just yesterday morning, they let me know you were gone. Suzanne, the plans they made put an end to you. Yeah, I don't remember if those are the exact lyrics, but I know it says that at some point, right? And I wrote down this song. But I don't know who to send it to. So now there, my melody is not on top at all. Now, if I put the melody note on top, and I don't have to play the melody note, but I could do this. Woke up just yesterday morning, they let me know you were gone. So now, see how that, by putting the melody note on top, it helps to support a little bit more of the melody, but it could also start to get in the way as well. So you want to be careful, and this is where you could really get overly complicated with this and really work out all of your voicings to make sure that they don't conflict with the melody. The best way of doing this is just really listening and listening for are your voicings, woke up just yesterday morning, they let me know you it's like, whoa, man, what's all these notes I'm putting in here? You know, like, oh, let me like, we're gonna morning, you know, like putting in reharmonizations and stuff. You know, it's like, you know, that's not gonna work. So make sure that you're always using your ears. But then also think like, is this like, woke up just yesterday morning, they let me know you were gone. It's like the singers are gonna be like, where are you? What happened to you? You know, you're just completely lost. But you might go, just yesterday morning, they let me know you were gone. Yep. All right, so Kevin, is there any generic intro you can use for rock ballads? Oh yeah, that's kind of a tough. No, there's really no generic intro, but like, let me give you one. You could always try this one. It would probably work most of the time, but this is kind of cool. And basically all it's going as, it's a C chord, or the 1 chord, and I'm just walking down to the 5. And I keep that C chord the whole time. And then go to a sus chord, then resolve to the 5 chord. So if I did this in F minor, I could do that for Adele's Hello, right? If I wanted to do that for there we go. Do that for Piano Man as well. So that would work well for a lot of different ballads, but there's no one intro I could say, well, if you do that one, it's going to work all of the time. But this one's pretty good. Okay. It's kind of have that in your wheelhouse. Wendy, if you have smaller hands and can't do the octave thing with your left hand, what alternatives do you suggest? Well, one, can you do that? Okay, so can you break it up like that? Or you can definitely do roots and fifths. Or now, the only challenge if doing roots, well, first of all, you could hear the root 5 sounds fine, okay? Root 5, totally fine. Kind of rhymes in a way. But you want to be careful, like way too low, right? Right, so like, whereas like octaves down there work just fine, okay? Octaves just fine, way down there. Root 5, not so fine, okay? So that's because of your lower interval limits. I'm kind of like on this rhyming thing here. It's not quite working. It's like a soft rhyme. But anyway, be careful about how low you play those root 5s because they're just going to sound a little too muddy. Okay, a bunch of questions now. Talia, what rock songs do you recommend to hear for practicing all those tips you were showing us? Well, first of all, like this is a shameless plug, take a look at rockpianolessons.com. Like all of those rock tunes in there are great tunes to know. Like, but regardless of buying anything from me, all right? I mean, like, I think I got good stuff. I think you should buy some stuff from me. And if you want to get the specials, go to studywithwillie.com and you can get all of those specials right now. But you don't have to buy anything from me in order to apply this stuff. You can apply it to any rock tune. And in fact, one great exercise is put on YouTube. You got every rock tune known to mankind on there. So put on YouTube, listen to a rock tune, try and figure it out by ear, right? And then start to apply some of these concepts in these webinars to that progression. So again, like start with Adele's Hello. Okay, that's a good one to start with, or some of her other tunes. Like she's, you know, piano player as well, so she has, you know, like she's pianistic stuff, you know, whereas like some other stuff is just like blah 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 blah. It's like, you know, it's just a beat and there's no real pianistic stuff to it. But her stuff is good to take a look at. Elton John, Billy Joel, the classics, you know. So anything that's like piano related, like James Taylor, a lot of those things work really well. You know, there's like hundreds of songs that you could take a look at. And the idea is that you could apply these concepts to really any song. The way I like to teach is I don't like to teach like, oh, this only works in this one particular instant. No, there's always ways of like kind of moving it around and using it in different places. So pick whatever rock tune you want to, but make sure that it's something that you have some kind of affinity to, that you like. Like, don't pick something you don't like because you're not going to want to practice it. So find some songs that you like and then start to apply these concepts to them. Emmett, can the 1, 3, 4, 5 pattern be used like the 1, 2, 3, 5 pattern? So I think like you're talking one. Yeah, I mean, like you could do any of those patterns. So like. Yeah, so like, I mean, you could utilize a pattern like that to improvise over. Like the 4-note pattern is less about which pattern you're using, meaning 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 3, 2, 4, or 1, 3, 4, 5, or you know, like whatever. It's like, I shouldn't have said 1, 2, 3, 4, like 1, 2, 3, 5. It's less about what order you're playing the pattern in, and more about the fact that it's a 4-note pattern, because that fits neatly into 4 and 4, which is 8, which is 8 eighth notes in a 4/4 measure. Okay. Remember, music is duple or triple, meaning that it's based in 2s or based in 3s. Okay, that's it. It's either a 2 or a 3. If you're playing in an odd meter, then you might mix that 2 and 3, 3, 3, 2. You know, like that kind of stuff. Okay, like in 5, it would be 2 and 3 or 3 and 2. But in typical music that we play, normally it's either in 2s or 3s. And when we say 2, 2 is obviously also 4, okay? Or groupings of 3. So, yeah, so where was I going with the 2 and the 3 thing? Oh, yeah. So that 4-note pattern fits neatly into that duple meter. The 3-note pattern, that's a little bit different. That's where now, once you start improvising in 3, you could still utilize these 4-note patterns and kind of get this like over the bar line accent cool thing going on. But you'll also want to start to know how to do some 3-note patterns. Now, the beauty is that there's a perfect 3-note pattern you could do. It's called a triad, right? Just arpeggiating the triads. So just arpeggiating your triads gives you 3 right there. All right, Emma Lloyd. Similar to Victoria's question, some classic rock licks we should know that are common in rock to use. Actually, and that's what was gone through on that rock piano site. Okay, I had Paul put together a bunch of great lessons on that rockpianolessons.com, and there's a lot of cool licks and signature stuff in there. So I would definitely take a look at that. You know, this is kind of funny, like signature rock stuff. Okay, so let me come clean for a second, all right? I do some rock gigs, okay? I don't do a lot of rock gigs, but I mean, I've done quite a few gigs over the years, and I've made a living being a professional musician. And honestly, like, I've never come across like, oh, you got to know this lick. You know, for me, it's always just been about the passion behind the playing and the intensity of the playing, and less about like, you gotta make sure you know that signature lick. Now, with that said, you know, I'm obviously more of a jazz player, right, or funk and that kind of stuff. But you know, the rock stuff, I don't play in a like a straight up rock band, which, you know, we're going out and doing like what you call it, you know, top 40 kind of stuff. In that case, yeah, there are certain licks that you would want to know. But I mean, is there any that's signature that you want to know? I mean, one of the songs I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be doing that Alabama. Like that kind of stuff. You know, like those licks. A lot of the blues licks are more signature, I think, like that kind of stuff. You know, now signature rock licks really get very tune specific, and again, I can't think of anything, you know, right off the bat. But that's going to depend on if you're playing that tune, you know? I mean, to just know the lick, the signature rock lick by itself, I'm not sure what good that really does you. You'd want to kind of know the entire song. So I don't know if that really answers the question. I might have just punted that down the field a little bit. But yeah, you know, so it depends on the tune, and I would, you know, I'm always like kind of like get those bluesy kind of licks together because those are the ones that are really useful in many different circumstances. So, hope that helps. Let's see. I play in a rock band. I make a mistake. I tell everyone I'm playing jazz. Yeah, good. What can I do to play such big jazz chords if I have standard hands? All right, first of all, many players have standard hands. I happen to use ginormous ape hands, all right? Sorry, apes, not meaning to be offensive to apes, all right? But big jazz chords, all right, I'll tell you the best way of playing big jazz chords is that you want to break down and you want to understand what makes a chord sound big, okay? I mean, so like big jazz chords is not just about, oh, like I can like spread out and play all these notes. It's also about, yeah, I mean, like that's a pretty big sounding chord right there. Ooh, I kind of like this. Let's see. You know, so like, I mean, these are like kind of dense chords here. Like, you know, even if I start to just do like octaves and stuff in here. I didn't hit anything more than an octave there. Okay, so standard hands is usually considered an octave, all right? So usually most people can reach an octave, okay? But if you can't reach an octave, you can still get big sounding chords. The only time I did more than a fifth was right there, and I could have left that out easily, all right? So big sounding chords is about understanding, okay, so like in here, I know that I got my root, my fifth, okay, but like what's all this other junk in here? I know I want to get my third and my seventh in there because that like kind of like defines the chord. That's my guide tones. But then I'm throwing in my ninth and my 11th and my fifth, okay? And I know that if I do that right now, I'm going to get that cluster sound. And that cluster sound, another thing right in here as well, in that A flat minor, that cluster sound is going to give me a lot of density right there in the middle. Now that's different than doing like something like this, where it's like now you get a lot of density, but it's spread out, okay? Right? And don't forget, you could also do this kind of stuff. Yeah. You know, you can get pretty big by really jamming that octave or that root there and then hitting the rest of the notes. You know, especially if you can hit that octave, you get some really big sounding chords. Mark, hello from Holland. Hello, Mark. Thank you for joining me. For one song, I play the melody in the left hand in some parts, okay, accompanied by some rhythmic high notes with the right hand. Do you have any general tips for alternating the melody between the right and left hand? The song's Surf Up by the Beach Boys. Yeah, I mean, I don't do the melody in the left hand as much as I should. One player to take a listen at for jazz is Brad Meldau. He does that all the time. It's really cool. It's a really nice sound. General tip for moving the melody between the right hand and the left hand. Well, first of all, you want to think about the octave displacement of the melody. So if you're doing the melody, you know, thinking again like Fire and Rain. Okay, if I have the melody up there, now I'm doing it down here. Now I'm doing it down here, okay? Well, first of all, is it going to get buried with the chords over here? And is it going to sound a little bit too weird playing it down there an octave away, okay? And I'm not saying that it is or is not. These are questions I'm saying that you want to ask yourself, okay? If you're happy with the answers that, no, I like that sound down there, then perfect. Then play it there. But it's something that you definitely want to consider when you start moving the melody around octaves, because what can happen is the ear can kind of lose where it is. So like, so let's see if I can do this. So you see how I'm like moving the melody all over the place, and it's like it like kind of jumps into all of these different altitudes very quickly. So if you're playing the melody in the left hand, then maybe what you want to do is you probably want to do that for a section, you know, or you want to make sure that getting in and out of it, that it's not a flash in the pan, that it's not just some quick little like oh man, I only did that there and I didn't do it up here. But whereas I might do something like that, I might do the melody in both hands. And that's another thing. Now that's something that I do much more often, is play the melody in two hands. So it's still up here, but it kind of gets supported down here in the left hand. So it's another idea for you to try. So anyway, just some questions to ask yourself. Like, is the melody getting lost? Is this like just a gimmick that I'm doing? Not saying that you are, but is this a gimmick that I'm doing, you know? Or am I doing this for a specific reason? Do I like the sound of it? All of that good stuff. There's no like rule of thumb other than you want to make sure that the melody is being supported. It's like it's kind of like let's see. The only thing that's coming to mind is like you know like you have like the Secret Service or the police or whatever that protect the dignitary, be it the president, the queen, whatever, and it's almost like they always want that dignitary to look good, and they try to avoid them from embarrassment and whatnot. So you're kind of like, when you're playing the melody, you want the melody to always shine and be the star, okay? And if you start to like move stuff around too much, and then now the melody is like, whoa, wait a second, what's going on? Where am I going? And why am I doing this? It's like you confuse the melody a little bit, and thus you confuse the person who's listening. You confuse the audience. So always make sure that the melody is supported and that the melody is the star, and everything else kind of comes beneath that. So your chords, your reharmonizations, that kind of stuff. This is why we always say, how does it work with the melody? Does it work with the melody? All right, Dell. Hello, Dell from Pennsylvania. What do you play in between songs? How do you transition into the next song? Actually, a lot of times I'll do nothing in between songs, okay? So, like the kind of gigs that I do not require that it's like me go right into like some other tune next, okay? Kind of gigs that I play, or typically like, like you end on one tune and it's like, oh, okay, what do you guys want to do? All right, so. Then you move into another song. Now, I do understand that, there are some gigs that people play in which you want a constant thing going on. Now, typically, what I have found is those types of gigs, you usually have like a set list, and you're usually then going to know exactly what's coming next, and then now you can start to plan a transition like kind of in advance. Now, if I had to go, trying to think like, let's just say I had to go from My Funny Valentine into, well, that's not going to be a good example. And, okay, yeah, we'll do My Funny Valentine into My Romance because it's C minor into B flat major. So that would be the end of My Funny Valentine. Now I got to get to B flat. And now I'm in My Romance, okay? Now what I did there was I was on E flat. So now I'm thinking, how does E flat function on B flat? That's my 4 chord. So let me get up to my 5 chord. Just easy stuff. And I did... 5 sus, 5 7. Now I'm in B flat. Okay? So a lot of times I'll do like some kind of modulation, and if you need help with modulations, I have a bunch of lessons on that as well. Just do a search for modulation, M-O-D-U-L-A-T-I-O-N. And by the way, when you're searching for stuff on the site, you're better off to search using only one word rather than modulation techniques, because if it's modulation piano techniques, the search engine is not going to find it. Now, some of you might say, well, why doesn't it, Willie? Like, I could go to Amazon and put in anything. Well, there's a little bit of a difference between the amount of money that Amazon brings in and Piano with Willie brings in. So their search engine, they probably have 10 coders who only work on the search engine aspect of it. So from a programming standpoint, I can tell you that it's very complicated to program search engines like that. So ours is not as robust as Amazon's, I'm sorry. But if you search for one word, it's going to be much better than searching for two. So modulation techniques, or just do a search for modulation and it will come up, right? But that's what I would do. I would modulate from one song to another. Maybe I might do like maybe a pedal technique. So modulating from one song into the next. Yes, pedaling. Steve, I'm sure that I did a lesson on pedaling, like the pedal tone. In fact, I know I did. If you need help finding it, write into Carrie. We can find it for you. But I know there's 4,000 lesson chapters. I know that there's definitely one in there on pedaling. But if for some reason there isn't, then yes, that is something that I would do and would be good. I have no idea Adele is ever singing about. What do chasing pavements, rolling in the deep, and set fire to the rain mean? You know what? I have no clue either. I don't listen to lyrics as much as I should. And this is why let me come clean. This is why I don't play rock music, because rock music is more about lyrics than it is about the progression. Because quite frankly, if I had to just do those 4 chords, over and over again, I would go out of my mind. All right. I'm looking for more stuff that has more meat progression-wise. That's why I like jazz. I like blues because of the grit. I like funk because of the beat and the groove. But I play jazz because of the complexity of it. That's just where my ears are at. So Now I find as I get older, I listen more to lyrics, and I am trying to listen more to lyrics because it's a good thing to do, you know, because you kind of get an idea of the song, you know, this way you don't do like, yeah, you know, it's like, and it's like, you know, like the song is singing about like breaking up with somebody or something. You're playing like this like kind of happy thing going on, you know. Woo! You know, so the lyrics tell you how you should be playing the song. So, but the one thing I want to say is that Google is your friend on this stuff. I mean, people really do analyze lyrics. And so just type in like rolling in the deep analysis. You know, you might get a chord analysis, but you might also get people that are talking about what the song means and means to them. And sometimes this stuff doesn't necessarily mean anything in particular. It's like a piece of art on the wall that has no title or anything, even if it does have a title, which titles are kind of silly on art anyway sometimes. That piece of art will mean one thing to you and will mean something completely different to me. It's really what does it mean to you and what do you get out of it. Michael, when soloing in southern rock styles or Doors type tunes, I tend to use pentatonic or blues scale, but it still ends up sounding too jazz-like. What will help to keep it more rock sounding? All right, well then if it's sounding too jazz-like, then really just focus on notes of the chord and maybe adding in the ninth. And that's it, those 4 notes, okay? So, because yeah, if you're gonna put in the 6th there for the full pentatonic scale, you know, it is going to start to sound a little bit more jazz-like. So just focus just on notes. In fact, I'd say start just with notes of the chord, then add in the 9th and see how that goes. That would probably kind of tame it a little bit more and make it not sound as jazz-like. Also, make sure that you're not playing rhythms that are swung, obviously, and then think, like when you're playing it, like conceptualize, like playing more classical-like, you know. Like, I'm just fooling around and no particular progression. But thinking about those 8th notes being very straight, okay? Like that's the one thing, like with the Doors, it's like all that stuff is like really like, it's straight. It's almost like classical rock versus, you know, rock. You know, it's like kind of has like that classical kind of feel in the improvisation. Francis, 7th and 9th are easy to learn, but the 11th, 13th are less. Is there any lesson? Oh yeah, like there's a bunch. I'm sorry, and Francia. Piano essentials. That's what you should be taking a look at because all those tensions are in there. All right, so take a look at the piano essentials. Claude, can you show us different ways to improvise with a few notes, but with nice various feels and sounds? In jazz for sure, maybe on Easy Living. Let's see. Okay, hold on one second. Going the wrong spot here, sorry. Patience. Let's see. So you would like different ways to improvise with a few notes but various feels. Okay, so all right, so Easy Living. Okay, so. All right, so let's just take that much right there. So the chord progression, F major, okay, F sharp diminished, G minor, G sharp diminished, okay, and then this F over A, F major 7 over A, and then a 2, 5 to B flat. All right, so now this is where it gets a little complicated because like improvise with only a few notes. All right, so if I were to take this, I would be looking at, right off the bat, I'm looking at these notes, okay? So I'm thinking I'm in the key of F major. added on this one, okay? So I added on, I used these 4 notes. Now, this is a great thing to practice, right? A nice challenge to yourself is, can you improvise just with 4 notes, okay? Okay? Now, I'm not going to say that improvisation is going to sound like super good, okay? But can you do it? Can you kind of get away with playing those 4 notes? All right, so now why did I choose these 4 notes? Well, I'm thinking F major 7. I wanted the 7th in there because I wanted that kind of half step to the root thing. And then I threw that 9th in there because that would work well on that B flat as well. All right, but now maybe I might do like maybe these 4 notes. Okay. All right, so now there's 4 notes there that I could use for improvisation. Now that's one style. Another style. Now, like kind of moving into a Latin style. Right, so now that actually was like kind of like more like a stridey kind of style that I moved into, like back into Latin. It's kind of weird, like doing this in Latin anyway, or at least that speed. Actually, it might sound good. Nah, I don't think that would sound good as a bossa. It just moves a little too quickly for a bossa. But like kind of like a more of a bluesy style. Now here, what I'm doing is now I'm starting to like incorporate more of my chord tones. So remember, the whole progression that I showed you was start with your major scale. All right, so now that's all major scale. I didn't change any notes there. And then the next step is use chord tones. Now there, chord tones are going to sound great. Now start incorporating the scale along with the chord tones. And now you start to get something. Now you start to have something, okay? So again, like that, I laid out right in that Scales for Improvisation, all part of this webinar series. So Scales for Improvisation, Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. Take those concepts, apply them to something like easy living. All right, let's see. Steve, tell a joke between tunes. Yeah, you can do that if you're funny. I think that's the biggest thing. If you're gonna tell jokes in between songs, I mean, do they have to be clean? I guess depends on the audience. But I think that they definitely have to be funny. So that's why I would typically, I do a modulation. So it's either do modulations or tell jokes, all right? Let's see, Emmett, how much mileage can I get out of just using 1735, 1537, and 1573 voicings? 173, are you talking 2 hands? I'm assuming that you're talking 2 hands? Or 1573 voicings? Well, I'm assuming that you're talking 2 hands if you're hitting 1, 7, 3, and 5, unless you're organizing the voicing in some other way. But, okay, let's forget about music for a second and let's talk about cooking, okay? I'm trying to get into cooking and cooking more and whatnot. Now, I have a spice rack that's probably about this big, okay? Like I might have maybe about like 15 spices in there, right? Now, a professional cook, a professional chef, how many spices do you think they have? They probably have like a whole like, you know, closet full of like all of this exotic stuff, okay? Now, does that mean that with that small amount of spices that I can't make really killer dishes? Well, of course not. I can, right? And I have. So you don't need a lot right away. It's all in what you use. Okay? I mean, like seriously, like think about like in cooking, like salt, pepper, like salt, pepper seems to be like the be all end all. I mean, and what people could do with just salt and pepper is like salt, pepper, and a little bit of olive oil. And it's like boom, there you go. All right, you got yourself a dinner. So you shouldn't think, like, and bringing that back to music, you shouldn't think that in music that, oh, like I have to have this vast amount of knowledge in order to sound good. No, my point with the whole spice thing is that you want to know what spices to use. You want to know how to use it. You want to know the taste of it, the texture of it, the flavor of it, okay? In order to because if you add too much salt to something, you can ruin the dish, right? So same thing with playing chords and voicings. Like you could like learn all of these like big fat chord voicings and stuff, and like, oh, I know that big fat chord voicing, and then it's like you put it in someplace, and it's like it just sounds terrible. And I've seen students where like they'll do something like, yeah, I mean, like doing these voices like it's because it's like it sounds like Godzilla walking in, because they're like trying to throw in everything that they know, and this is where we know a little knowledge is a dangerous thing, right? So you want to make sure that you're, I mean, like look at what you can get out of just. I mean, now to me, that sounds really beautiful, and I'm not doing big voicings at all. Root 7 with the melody. Root 7. Okay? But it's all in how I'm playing. Now, I could do it like this. And I mean, I could do it like that, and it takes on a whole different feel and flavor to it, doesn't it? Okay? So it's not about how much you know, it's about what do you do with what you know. How do you play that melody? How do you, like, when you sit and play the piano, this is what I want to leave you with, and I want you to really think about. When you sit and play the piano, what kind of connection do you have to this instrument? Okay? What kind of connection is there? Is this literally that, oh, it's a key and you push it down and it makes a sound, or is this your emotional, what's the word I'm looking for? It's the tip of my tongue. Anyway, like, is this your partner in being, like your emotional expression instrument? All right, that's what I was looking for, expression. So, is this instrument allow you to express emotions and express what you're feeling in a way that's other than words, okay? That's what it does for me, and that's what it did for me years and years and years ago, and it still continues to do that for me. Like when I play, when I'm really playing, not teaching, but playing, like it's like, bam, I'm all in, right? I don't leave anything over there. It's like, bam, it's like, there it is. And I'm gonna go for it. I might crash and burn, but I'm going to go for it, all right? And when I'm going for it, I'm going for it, all right? And you could tell the passion. I was playing last night in an assisted living place for an hour. We're doing a gig for a bass player's dad, all right, who's in this assisted living place, and I'm playing organ. Now, there, I could have simply... Now, I could have just played it like that, right? But I'm like... Like I'm going to be playing. I'm going for it. So again, it's not about like all the tricks and stuff that you know. It's taking what you know and applying it in a way that like there's a connection there between you and the instrument. Okay, so it's like really owning what you know. It's really getting inside of what you know, but it's really like sitting. I mean, I'll tell you, there have been like times, especially when I was younger, and like you go through stuff in your life. I mean, I would cry at the piano, like sitting alone in the dark. I remember like being on stage at URI on this big stage with a big 9-foot concert grand piano, just sitting there alone, nobody else in there, like one light on the stage as I'm sitting there and just being with my instrument. Okay, just like being like. That was my friend, So the more you get that kind of attachment to your instrument, now it's not about, oh, I got to know all these tricks and stuff. Now it's like, hey, guess what? This is what I want to do. This is what I'm feeling today. I'm feeling a little down or whatnot. So I'm like, a little hopeful. Powerful, a little bluesy. So it's about making that connection with your instrument. How do you make that connection with your instrument? Well, this is where it gets a little, crystals and whatnot. It's no offense, but if you're into crystals, I'm not into crystals, but if you are, then maybe you could explain them to me a little bit more. This is where, to make that connection with your instrument, there's a physical connection to it. So it's like, this is again where the grab technique comes in. You're like really working on grabbing at the instrument and feeling that connection between the pads of your fingers and the key bed, right? This is where you like really start to understand what's going on when you play that key. Like the idea of a hammer hitting the string, like on a grand piano, it hits from underneath, and an upright it hits moving forward. Understanding like there's a break in that hammer once it hits the string. The damper comes up, makes it so that the string can resonate. The sustain pedal lifts up your dampers so that like the strings can sustain out. Understanding that, and like the soft pedal. Even does anything on this thing. But on a real piano, then it kind of changes the timbre because the hammers shift a little bit. So now you're not hitting the full string. So the more you understand the physical characteristics of what the piano is and what it does and how it does it, the more you can start to get that physical connection with it. And then one great way of doing that is play on a piano, on a real piano. And I always suggest that. Anytime you can play on a real piano, do it. Even if it's out of tune, play on a real piano. Now, the more metaphysical kind of stuff and emotional stuff, that's where sit with your instrument and play with your eyes closed. Sit with your instrument in a darkened room and force yourself to have to find your way around your instrument. You sit down, it's you don't have the music in front of you, you don't have any backing track, you literally just sit with a piano sound. And you might do something that's difficult like this. This is really hard for beginning students to do. You just sit quietly and random notes. So there, I'm really just trying to like make some musical lines and react to what it is that I just played. That's tough. I'm not suggesting that everyone do that because some students just, quite frankly, wouldn't be ready to do that. They're, it doesn't sound good, and it's like, you know, and if you're in that place, then no, don't do that. But, you know, even just practicing scales, but really listening to that scale, rather than like that scale being like, oh, I'm gonna practice scales, you know, no. Ah. Right? No, that didn't go so well at the end. But anyway, there what I'm doing is I'm playing the major scale, and I moved into different scales. I went into E flats. I'm trying to do it like in thirds, coming down. I kind of messed up the left hand, but you know, like just kind of keeping it going. And you know, and the other thing is I laugh at myself when I play. Okay, when I practice. If I make a mistake, it's not gonna be like, oh, stop it, stop it. I actually had a student that used to do that. He would practice, and he'd be like, stop it. Stop it. He would literally say to himself, stop it, stop it. And then it's like, I would be like, you know, just relax. It's okay, you know, like, relax, you know, stop it. So don't do that to yourself, you know, like, you know, just kind of laugh at yourself and try and make that connection with your instrument. So anyway, hopefully that helps. Can I explain the play piano for hours without music course? Yeah, basically that that course is really about coming up with progressions and like kind of like some of the stuff that I was doing. Like so like, you know, being able to do something like. It's about being able to sit down and just improvise and come up with progressions based upon diatonic chords and fleshing them out and filling them out. But then also, how do you start to improvise over it? How do you start to bring in some like different styles and whatnot? So there should be some samples as well in the store. If you go to jazzedge.com, I think that. I'm not sure if that bundle is there or not. I'm not sure if Carrie added that bundle there or not. But if you have questions on it and you want to see some samples of it, just write in to support@jazzedge.com. Carrie can help you out on Monday when she's back in the office. And then, Michael, you asked if I have any lessons on fills and runs. Yeah, a bunch. In fact, if you just do a search in the lesson library for fills, some stuff should come up there. All right, so I think that's I think I got everyone there. All right, so thank you all very much. Wow, man, we went pretty long here today. So thank you all very much. Remember, if you're not a member of my site and you like to work with me and study with me, go back to studywithwillie.com. Make sure you read the entire page because there's stuff all the way down that page, okay? Watch the video on that page as well. These specials, they truly are Black Friday specials. I had one student who was like kind of upset at me because you can go to my site and get a quarterly membership for $89.97, okay? But that's off the first quarter. One of the specials is $99 a quarter, and that sticks. So if you're kind of like scratching your head at like how that math works, it's because if you stay for, you know, a year or two or whatnot, then every quarter that you stay, you end up enjoying those savings. If you're already a member and you want to extend your membership, I would definitely take a look at the 2 and 3 year options, which we also have a multi-pay option as well, where you can pay something in 3 months, right? So if you buy something, you can break it up into 3 equal 30-day payments. But anyway, it's all right back there, okay? So thank you all very much for joining me today. Like I said, the recording will likely be going out on Monday for today's session. So anyway, thank you all very much. Have yourself a great weekend, and I will be back to you with some more emails and tips, and we have another session coming up on Monday, so be sure to check your email for that as well. All right, so take care, guys.